Wealth speaks the language of investments, assets, liabilities before cash flow. Wealth speaks the language of investments, assets, and liabilities before cash flow. When we are talking about wealth, we don't look at money first. We look at capacity. We look at wisdom. We look at strategy. We look at value. We look at principles. When we are talking about wealth, we don't focus on money. We focus on becoming wealthy in the spirit and in the mind. While cash is essential for daily living, wealth is what guarantees sustainability. I repeat, while fiat currency is essential for daily living, wealth is what guarantees sustainability and fulfillment. I'd like to take us through a couple of Jewish secrets. You know, the Jews are the ones who are fundamentally behind the Bible, behind the scriptures. The Bible calls them the oracles of the scriptures. So, as kingdom citizens, it's important that you need to understand that with regards to the Jews, there is a way that the law of the Jews, from the law of Moses to all the laws concerning dieting, policy making, and all of that, as well as some of the laws that people like King David and Solomon and a couple of other kings began to institute in Israel. The laws of Israel were not just about the Bible. Israel is a nation that used the Bible originally to form the policies that guided its economic, administrative, and developmental processes. In other words, they derived the principles of the Bible to build their system. It was not first of all, or it was first of all about laws to live in righteousness with God, but they became institutionalized as frameworks for the development of society. And so, we are not saying that Israel is perfect. Every nation has issues. In a world like this today, there is no way Israel can be termed perfect. But God decided to choose that nation and give them the oracles of God. And so, by reason of studying the word of God, these guys have been able to come up with some secrets that keeps them ahead. And so, Israel is such a small country. Israel is not even as big as Cross River State. But Israel imports food and technology and a couple of other things to the world. As at a couple of years ago, some research was made, and it was discovered that while Jewish people make up 2.5% of American population, 30% of the wealthy billionaires in the U.S. were Jewish. Imagine 2.5% holding 30% of the wealth of the greatest nation in the world. And that's because they know some secrets that they have passed down to their generations over time. Now, within the context of my calling, leadership and wealth is going to become a culture. Wealth creation and leadership development, as my legacy, will become a culture from this nation, from this city, from this state. Amen. So that's my priority. Outside of ensuring that people are living right in the kingdom. So let's take some Jewish wealth secrets. Number one, the Jews prioritize generational wealth over single generation wealth. The Bible says in the book of Proverbs 13 verse 22 that a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. From when the Jewish man begins to make money, his concept of wealth making is that he begins to envisage his grandchild. Well, imagine that as you're saving 10,000, 20,000 naira daily, your grandchild is in the picture. So it affects your expenditure. I mean, these are some of the most amazing things. It affects how they spend. When they spend, they know that I have to spend and put up a business empire or a legacy that my grandchild is going to come and benefit from. They don't think of themselves alone. They think of 2 generations after them, minimum. So if I have 10,000 and I'm going to spend 5,000, I say, okay, maybe I can make money for my child. That 5,000 now, if I'm spending 3,000 extra for my child, 2,000 is for my grandchild. Now, that's figuratively speaking, not specifically. But, I'm trying to illustrate a principle that they carry. Now, the Bible says in the book of Hebrew that Levites paid tithes in Abraham. In the book of Hebrews 7. So when the Lord chose the Levitical tribe, he said, this one shall not pay tithe. Because when Abraham paid Melchizedek his tithes, 10% of what he had, he said Levites paid his tithes in Abraham. When Abraham was paying the tithes, he did not specifically state so. That, my grandchildren will not, a particular tribe, my grandchildren will not pay tithes. Because he didn't know what God was going to do. But then, God conceptualized it so that a particular tribe that would hold a priesthood in his covenant nation, Israel, will not pay tithe because the tithe their grandfather paid spoke for them. Meaning that law, a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, even though it was not written in the days of Abraham, Abraham lived it out as a principle of his lifestyle. Because the wealth that Abraham had, he transferred it to Isaac, and Isaac transferred it to Jacob as an inheritance that he spoke over his life as a blessing. Even though Jacob ran away from the house. But Jacob was wealthy in his father's house. Because he had meat that he was rearing. He had, animals that he was cooking where he was able to make for his father. He didn't carry Esau's own. He didn't carry his father's own. He had his own. Meaning that transgenerational wealth is synonymous with the Jewish people. So as we begin to make money and begin to build wealth, we need to begin to invest in things that if Jesus Christ tarries, your children and my children should not come and suffer. As a matter of fact, it's not that they should not come and suffer. They should come and expand on. So money is a tool to empower the next generation. And this also affects political leaders. Whenever they are planning anything, they are thinking of the next generation of leaders that will take over from them. It moves from the family unit to the political sphere to the institutions. It's not like our own institutions here where the lecturers want you to bribe before you pass. You can't try that in some countries like Israel. You can't do that. Because it means that you are killing the next generation. You are killing them. I'm not, like I always say, it's not that lecturers are bad, but the system has corrupted them. However, I want some of them to wake up. You can't be, how do you want people to study and you're telling them bribe? If I will bribe to pass, why do I need to read? So you turn out redundancy into society. Money is a tool to empower the next generation. Number 2, Jews give cash or assets to people. Things that appreciate in value, not stuff that become liabilities. A Jewish man, it is said, will hardly give you a car. He can give you a bus to use for transportation so that you can use to make money. He will hardly give you an expensive SUV that will make you to spend too much money to fix. He will give you a land. He will give you cash. Are we together? So the Jewish people are more interested in giving assets than liabilities. I think like that. Until I got to know this, I didn't understand why I kept talking about the fact that one of the ways I'm going to bless people as God empowers us is to give people land. Many years ago, I used to say, I'll be giving people houses. I said, I'll give people houses to live in. Instead of giving you money, I'll give you a house, live. 5 years, build your life, move, let another person take over the house. I didn't understand why until I began to understand that it's a covenant principle. Give people assets rather than liabilities. I'm not saying it's wrong to give cars to people or stuff. We do that. But more importantly, give people things that it is easy for them to increase the value to their benefit. That's the point. A third Jewish secret. There are many Jewish secrets, but I'm stating only 4. A third Jewish secret. Wealth creation is part of the Jewish culture. As a child, they are teaching you that making wealth is part of it. You know, all other countries are so wise. They are better than the Jews in their own eyes. And yet, Israel, as small as Israel is, has been making a lot of money for so many years. And yet, they fight more wars than many countries, but they are wealthier. They start teaching a child from young that, look, you must become a millionaire. It's ingrained into the child's consciousness that you must build wealth. So if that has happened across 3 generations, you can understand why Israel is so wealthy. Since after Israel as a nation state was formed after the Second World War in 1948. You can understand why. Because in their school systems, in their family discussions, in their culture, everybody is taught to be wealthy. This is why I believe, and I believed it since, and then people came to state it earlier. You know, when I was younger, I ran away to the Igbo land, and I didn't want people to know that I'm not from Igbo land. As a matter of fact, I began to speak Igbo consciously because I saw that these guys, I came out of this environment, so I said, these people, they like to make guys, they don't have money. I don't want to be identified with them. If you could change identity, I would have changed since. So while I was schooling the university in the East, I told people I was an Igbo man. And that's how I lived. I began to learn the language. Why? Because of the consciousness of the need to make wealth. And the fact that they are money-oriented. They make money. So because of that, I said no. Everybody thought I was an Igbo man. It took over 4 to 5 years after I came back to our city for people to know that I was from this land. And so from a child from the young age, from tender age, the father is going to the shop during holiday. You see the child going there, and you know, I used to have a mechanic that used to fix my automobile around the teaching hospital. And when you come there, you see his sons. During weekends and during holidays, they will come and put on mechanic garb and be learning how to carry tools like their father. And the father will be sending them alongside his boys. Go and carry this one, go and carry this one. It is ingrained. The conscience, your business culture is passed down to your children as a culture. They are expected to be well. Now, as a matter of fact, they are embarrassed by not being wealthy. You know how you know that if you're not wealthy, you become embarrassed. If as a culture, I'm not saying there are no few exceptions, but as a general culture, if a Jewish man is broke, he's not broke because he does not have money. He's broke because he invested the money somewhere waiting for returns. So they are embarrassed by not being wealthy. In other words, they manage for multiplication and reinvestment. If they are managing their food and managing their expenditure, it's because they've kept the money in abundance for reinvestment. Not because they don't have money in the bank, but they are keeping the money for reinvestment. It's a culture. A Jewish man at a particular age struggling is abnormal. Like, why should I be struggling? You know, here, okay, let's manage. You know, life is hard. A Jewish man does not talk like that. A Jewish man will be saying, why should life be hard? Do you understand? They are in the opposite direction. Maybe that's why we will write from left to right, then they write from right to left. Yes, they write like this. You know, the Middle East is this way. The West is this way. So the West colonized us. So we write from the right to the left, from the left to the right, because if you look at the map, Africa is here, West, they are this way, and then England and some of those countries, they are, if you go up to this side, to the left. So we start writing from there this way. The Middle East, Israel, all these people, they are to the right. Arab nations, so they write from right to the left. And you know, Bible says Jesus is sitting at the right hand. Maybe we should change and start writing from right to left so that our brain will think right and think the right way. Being wealthy through effective management is a normal thing in the Jewish land. In other words, management is engraved. Now, why is this important? Because in our leadership academy, we are going to be teaching these things. We're going to be teaching on finance, management of resources. We are going to be focusing on these things in our leadership academy. Very important. Now, the fourth Jewish secret. They use their pain as fuel for acceleration, not an excuse. If you read the book of Romans 8:18, it says, I reckon that the sufferings of this present time cannot be compared to the glory that shall be revealed in us. So they use their pain as fuel for acceleration. I always say this. If you must fall, fall forward. Don't fall backward. Yes, if you must fall, fall forward. So that even when you fall, you have moved from where you were a little bit forward. Okay, so let's look at three fixed principles about wealth creation. Three fixed principles about wealth creation. Number one, you can make money in an instant, but wealth is grown gradually over time. We can make money in an instant, but wealth is grown gradually over time. Now, let's look at the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 11. By the way, I'd like to see the media team immediately after this meeting. Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gotten by vanity shall diminish, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. That means gathering. Gathering means gradually. Gradually you're gathering. Gradually you're gathering. Gradually you're gathering. Let's look at another version. Let's look at something like New English Translation or Good News Translation. Wealth obtained by fraud will dwindle. No. Let's look at another translation. Can we have any other translation? There are some translations that capture it. Okay. Dishonest wealth will dwindle, but wealth earned through hard work will multiply it. Do you have the message? I think the Good News Translation captures it better. All right, so let's forge ahead. The second principle is that planning diligently guarantees multiplication. Proverbs 21 verse 5. In other words, you can make money in an instant, but if you want to build wealth, you will spend a lot of time planning. Proverbs. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of everyone that is hasty only to one. Can you help me and not use King James while we are having this meeting? Now look at this. He said the thoughts, he didn't say the work of the diligent, he said the thoughts. All right. The plans of the diligent certainly lead to profit. But anyone who is reckless only becomes poor. Look at this. When you want to build wealth, you will sit down, you will find out knowledge about what you want to build. You may need to read about people who have done that business and failed before. What were the mistakes that they made? You will need to check what is the business environment? What level of knowledge do you have to be able to facilitate the business? What are the merits, advantages, and disadvantages? What are the risks involved? All of those things are considered in the planning process. And then, if the business needs to stay for 6 to 12 months, a moment of moratorium, a little time for the thing to mature, how are you going to be able to sustain the business? Is there a place to fund it? You know, not just business, but every other thing in life. For anything that you're going to do to be able to last, you have to spend time in the place of planning. Now, small business like, selling tomato by the roadside or selling biscuit and chewing gum, you don't need those you don't need any plan. People will just come and buy and go to school. Egg, they'll come and buy and go to school. And so that's why I said, making money, you may not need too much time for planning. But wealth building, you will need to plan. You will need to jot down things. You will need to strategize. You will need to take notes. You will need to think in the night. You need to meditate. You need to research. Africans, in the time past, don't used to like research. In other words, as it has to do with building wealth, you don't plan by the spirit, you plan with your mind. When it has to do with building wealth, your mind will need to be tasked a lot. Tasked. Need to be tasked a lot. Building wealth. Wealth building is different from money making. Anybody can make money in one day. You can play lottery and win. Somebody who likes you can dash you $1 million. God can favor you and somebody gives you 10 million. But wealth needs time. Amen. Planning diligently guarantees multiplication. In other words, your business multiplying is not guaranteed. The way you will know that your business is going to be established is dependent on how much time you spend in acquiring sufficient knowledge. The Bible says, which man intending to build a house does not first sit down and check the plan if he has sufficient to be able to accomplish it. Number 3, wealth is guaranteed in multiple streams of income. Remember, I keep using the word guarantee, grown. I didn't say you cannot make wealth from one stream of income. But as we grow and you want the money to be stable, you need to diversify. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 2. Ecclesiastes 11:2. Can we have that? Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you don't know what disaster may happen on earth. What does it mean? You invest in real estate, you invest in stock, you invest in pure water manufacturing, you invest in farming, you invest in foodstuff. Are we together? So you are investing in all those things so that in case economic policies of your country, one side crash, or maybe that period there is some kind of recession, people cannot buy houses. If you invested all your money in real estate, if you depend on it, you are going to become broke because you will start giving the houses or selling them, and there will be no time. Are we together? So as a result of that, what we have to do is that we wait. And if you have to wait for the real estate market to boom, or like during COVID now, vehicles were not moving. Imagine that the only business you were doing was logistics business. Transportation. That's where you put all your money. So during that COVID, that person would die of hunger. He will start selling his buses at very cheap rates to survive. But if you put your money in some other things and those other things are productive, that period of recession, you just wait. You just park the vehicles and wait. So, okay, let's give you 1 year and see what's going to happen. After COVID, everything bounces back. There's another stream of income that is sustaining. Because he said, you don't know what will come on the earth. Economy, there can be war. Are we together? That's why I always say it's good to buy land. If war happens, you carry the landed property, the documents, and run away. When they finish bombing everywhere, even if they destroy your house, the land is your own. You come back, the document is there, the land is still your own. Except, of course, if enemies come and take the land. But if they don't take the land is still your own. Real estate is the most profitable business anytime, any day. It's capital intensive depending on the context you get involved with. All right? So, wealth is guaranteed in multiple streams of income. So, let's look at 4 places to invest in order to become wealthy. 4 places to invest in order to become wealthy. The first place to invest in is invest in yourself. A man, a motivational speaker, but is a believer, and an inspirational author, mentor, and coach by the name of Jim Rohn made this quote. If you want to be wealthy and happy, learn to work harder on yourself than you work hard on your job. If you want to become wealthy and happy, learn to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, you may not need to work too hard on yourself to make money, but to build wealth, you need to work hard on yourself. For instance, if you have to build wealth, you may have to invest some money and stay hungry. Now, staying hungry or prioritizing delayed gratification, that means I'm not going to buy a car for 6 months. Means that you would have to deprive yourself. You would turn down the need to show your reputation. Oh, I have money, I don't have a car. I remember Apostle Joshua Selman saying that God had blessed him with so much money, but God did not allow him to buy a car for years. I was shocked. Some people have some kind of realms. Because he was into Forex. So he made a lot of money, and God said no. He had a cab guy that he was paying to take him everywhere he was going. So if he has appointments, 10 places, the boy will come and pick him, be on standby. Drive him everywhere, he will pay the boy. He had the money, but God said, don't buy it. He said several years later, he now discovered that God was teaching him how to conquer the need for things. The need for owning things. So that even though he has a car now, it does not move him. That ownership of, oh, I had made money, I've made money, oh, the thing did not move him. Are we together? It did not move him because God made him, he could see the money, but he could not buy the car. For a long time, I think 3 to 5 years or so. He was driving with a cab guy. He wants to travel the year, carried him everywhere, go for meetings and all. God said, don't buy for now. He said after that, he now discovered that he needed to build capacity in the area of, they will have things, but those things don't mean anything to him. And you see him today, Apostle Joshua Selman is dangerously wealthy. And yet, if you see his clothes, he's one of the men of God who dresses so simply. If you were a Muslim man, he'll be wearing that local jalabia, white and white every day. He's just like that. I mean, you can always determine the kind of clothes you wear. And yet, he is dangerously wealthy. All right. So, he said something again. He said, your income does not far exceed personal development. Now, these are principles in the Word of God. And when I listened to him, I knew that the man is a man of God. But he's motivational in his approach because he speaks to people in systems and all of that. When you develop yourself sufficiently enough, you are guaranteed to be able to house larger dimensions of wealth. Now, so how do we invest in ourselves? Sub-point, number 1. Read, study, and learn. Read, study, and learn about the fundamental principles of wealth creation. I didn't say about the fundamental principles of money making. I said about the fundamental principles of wealth creation. The principles of money making are slightly different from the principles of wealth creation. There are areas where they completely agree, but there are some areas where wealth creation principles are more advanced in the curriculum, as it were. Number 2, read, study, and learn to think like wealthy people. As you learn the principles, the next thing to do is allow the principles to begin to re-engineer your thought processes and your thought patterns. Begin to think like wealthy people. It's called abundance thinking. Never think scarcity, even when you have nothing in your pocket. Always imagine yourself that there is abundance in the world. Now, I like to say this. I've taught this in School of Finance. How the central banks and the financial institutions of the world use subtle vocabularization processes, semantical arrangements to alter our minds like, the economy is going to crash, there's going to be a recession by this forecast, by that forecast. Now, whatever you see or you hear constantly influences your thoughts. So while they are saying there's going to be recession, some of the big boys who invest in those places, they've already pushed their money to somewhere where the recession will not catch up with them. They will not tell the whole world there's going to be a recession. Everybody will begin to think, oh, there's going to be recession. And then you begin to move with fear. Once fear begins to come into your thought processes, it paralyzes everything. That's how many people become broke. They use semantics to make your thoughts disalign with wealthy people. Wealthy people don't think recession. Wealthy people think diversification. Okay, recession is coming. Where do I push the money to? So that the money will not go down. That's how wealthy people think. But they will not tell you that. They will tell you recession is coming. It cannot be avoidable. They will flood it across all media platforms. So that's what you're hearing daily. If you don't go and listen to God, it will catch up with you. I've learned a lot right now and I understand. Some things should not catch up with us again. As I began to research in the area of wealth and finance, I now understood something. Have you realized that Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, the first thing he had to do to establish the revolution was that he stopped listening to the West. I listened to the interview where the revolution began in his mind. He said when they were growing up, they were only listening to Radio France. So everything they were hearing was what France was teaching them. And then one day he woke up and then he began to discover that, there are things they are saying do not add up. Why are they saying this but doing this? Why are we being oppressed and saying this? So he stopped listening to their radio. As soon as he stopped listening to them and stopped connecting with them, his mind began to think differently. And he began to believe that reshaping Burkina Faso is possible. And it's now influenced his actions. And look at Burkina Faso 3 years later. It's changing rapidly. Why? Because he began to listen to the right things. That's why I tell people, when you go on YouTube and Facebook, what do you listen to? When wars are going on, a man who does not have a wealthy mind will be saying, oh, Wahala is coming. This world is hard. Things are going tough. Things are getting worse. A man with abundance thinking will begin to say, where is money coming? Where's money coming? I'm not saying you may not. There are times when you will not even have money in your pocket, even when you're thinking wealthy. You may be conceptualizing wealth in your mind, but there's no money in your pocket. But you see, as a man thinks, so is he. Whatever you think about predominantly, you become. If you think, oh, me, I'm suffering too much, you continue to suffer. If you think I'm not suffering, even in the midst of suffering, your thoughts begin to shape you. After a while, you take on the mold of your thoughts. So abundance thinking means that in the midst of scarcity, you are going in a different direction. I'm not poor. Everybody says I'm poor, but I say, no, I'm not poor. I'm rich. He said, let the weak say I'm strong. Let the poor say I'm rich. Why? Abundance thinking. Let something happen to your mind, even in the midst of. If it's too tough, just say it's well. Encourage yourself. Think like wealthy people. Number 3, ingrain a wealth culture into your vocabulary. Words have power. Ingrain a wealth culture into your vocabulary. Don't talk poor. You are strolling, they say, how far? You don't say, no, it's well, this life, the suffering is so much. No, you say, well, we are making progress. We are making progress gradually. We are getting there. But you've been working in this company for 3 months, for 3 years, 4 years, and you've not, with all your effort, they've not given you an official car. They are trying to pollute your mind and to contaminate your mind, to sow a seed of discord that the company is not profiting you, or that your boss does not like you. Say, even if the boss does not like you and you know it, you say, don't worry, better things than official cars are coming. You train your thoughts to be positive and to envisage wealth. How it's going to come, you don't know. It's not compulsory that you must get a car. I remember many years ago, I think between 2000 and 2003, there's this young pastor that used to serve in church, or a very young guy. He was growing and he needed money. He needed a car. He didn't have money. And something happened. Favor just turned up with him. And one day, he met his a pastor. A pastor just called him and said, please come to my house. Is he a pastor or an architect? Please come to my house. I have a couple of cars. I want to sell this one. A very clean V-boot. Very clean. Then that car was worth like 1 point something million. He told him, how much do you have? The young man said, I have 250,000. He said, take the car. And he collected the money. So, now, have positive imaginations, but don't try to always conceptualize how God will do it, because your mind is limited. Just believe that he will do it anyhow. As a matter of fact, if you have to conceptualize it, stretch your mind to begin to think of the impossible, because God specializes in doing the impossible. I'm telling you. I have learned this by experience. Okay, so in Winners Chapel, Bishop Oyedepo, if you say, how much do we have in the church account to use to build? Far back then when they were just starting. And you say, Papa or Daddy, we don't have any money in the account. That day you are fired. As you come into the job, one of the training is this: never say we don't have. At best, say it's very plenty. Is there any food in the house? Our food is plenty in the house. As a culture, that word, lack, nothing, those words left his vocabulary permanently for years. So when you see the man with that kind of wealth, it's because abundance thinking and abundance vocabulary. For it became a culture in his family, in the ministry, everywhere. If you say you don't have, except the mercy of God finds you, that day you lose your job. You have to find a way to say it positively. If you say it negatively, you're fired. Why? Words are spirit. You're releasing spirits into the atmosphere. You're releasing the spirit of lack into the environment. It's tough to live like that, but that's why when you're going through those kind of phases, you may lose a lot of friends, because you don't want to have conventional friends coming around you that will say, you are doing too much. All of you are not seeing the same thing. Where you are seeing, they are not seeing. When the result comes, they will understand. All right? So that's it within the context of wealth with investing in yourself. Investing in yourself, first point, learn the fundamental principles of wealth creation. 2, read, study, learn, and think like wealthy people. 3, ingrain a wealth culture into your vocabulary. Now, second point, invest in the knowledge of the reason for why things are the way they are. Did you get what I said? The reason for why things are the way they are. Very important. I didn't just say the reason for things. I said, why are things the way they are? Now, one of the things that makes the mind to begin to have insight. Now, insight is very important for wealth creation. Insight is very important. Insight makes you to carry Insight is the raw material for transforming your business to its current state, to a state where it will bring more value. For instance, somebody is selling a restaurant, and then the person says, how can I reach the customers more? And then a concept comes, a rebrand. Rebrand. Instead of just doing corporate restaurant, general restaurant, you now begin to say, okay, what do people who work in the corporate space like to take when they are in the office? Coffee, tea with chips and stuff. You now do rebranding, put on social media, do flyers. Corporate lunch package, 2,500 naira for offices. Delivery at your doorstep. Chips, afternoon coffee, you put some nice motivational things there and stuff. You try several components. Before you know, people come. When they see general restaurant, they will pop. But when they see corporate lunch, it will catch up their eye. They will stop and click to read the details. They say, let me try one. And I'll call, what do you have? Okay, do you have this? Oh, we don't have that. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, corporate people like this kind of thing. Tomorrow you make that one available on the menu. So the next time, you now call them and say, sir, we now have this just in case. You see how it moves? You've diversified. The same restaurant, but now you know that you have to make corporate. Before you know, you now say, okay, school children. What do you call it? School snack package. 1,500 now. You put it well packaged, well sealed. Parents don't need to struggle to, in case parents are going to work and they are busy. You just put chips and fried eggs with some nice things around, then carry Mickey Mouse and paste on the sachet that children like. How Mickey Mouse is dancing with those his funny shoes and just carrying the bag and going. Once parents see it, wow. They just drive and pack and then, please, 7:30 a.m. My children are late, just give me. Because they are going to the bank. Now you help them to sleep well. They don't have to wake up by 5 o'clock again. Now they can wake up by 6 o'clock. Prepare the children, prepare themselves and leave for the office. And with 1.5 you've helped them. Now, in that context, you will not make much profit, but the profit will be consistent. When they calculate gas, calculate time, calculate cost of groundnut oil, and all of that, they'll just say, please. No need for all that stress. 1.5. This one will say, there's this place. So, my dear, you know, these children said the way they trouble us, we need to rest. This restaurant has helped me. Before you know, that's how back to school. The same restaurant, too, but this one, you have now created niches. This niche is for children who are going to school in the morning. This niche is for those who are working in the corporate workplace. And plus, you have delivery bike that is carrying it to go and give to them. Corporate lunch. You tell them that one is not available till 11 o'clock. So everyone, this one is prepared for 11. So they just come, move from there straight. Are we together? They move straight and come to the office and deliver the package. Before you know, when you come, your colleague, please call that delivery guy. He's coming tomorrow to deliver for you. Let him bring one for me. Oh, please, that guy. Before you know, the delivery guy comes and supplies 5 in one place, 5 in another place, 5 in another place. And then that's how, it's insight. I was talking about insight. Insight is the reason for why things are the way they are. That's what bets insight. When you look at the book of Ecclesiastes 7, verse 24 to 25, Ecclesiastes 7, verse 24 to 25, you begin to realize that what exists is beyond reach. In other words, there is something that I'm supposed to do, but that thing is not around me. I'm supposed to do something better than where I am now, but that thing is beyond reach. It's not just around here. And very deep. Who can discover it? How can I discover something to do to upscale my business? How can I discover something to do to shift the boundaries of my habitation? How can I do something differently that will increase the value of this same thing I'm doing? Next verse. Come on, walk with me. I turn my thoughts to know, explore, and seek wisdom and the explanation for things, and to know that wickedness is stupidity and folly is madness. If you read King James, he says, I set my heart to know the reason for things. Why are things the way they are? Why am I stuck in this business model? Is there no other business model I can engage? What is going on here? Now, you see what I just said now about insight? I don't run a restaurant. But because of the fact that I can do trainings in a restaurant, I can do trainings in a business, and so listen and give them insights free of charge, and they pay me for it. Do you get the point? I can do training in a business outfit, and they pay me for it. Well, I can't do that now. If I'm doing that now, I'm doing it for maybe kingdom men and stuff. I don't just do it for any kind of person. Because, some people don't value some stuff. They don't value some kind of insight. And these things are deep. And my own will always prosper because it's powered by the Spirit. But you see, you begin to create niches. You can even get database and get parents' numbers, give them parents who are staying in a particular place, market, and then your delivery by guy is up by 6 o'clock in the morning. Is ready. So parents don't need to come and buy and go to their place. You take it to their houses. You just go house to take all the menu for tomorrow today. By 6 o'clock, as they have wired the transfer, 6 o'clock, the delivery by guy just runs there, passes through. In 30 minutes, he has delivered to 20 parents. Another delivery guy is delivering on that street. Another one is delivering on that street. And deliver it like that. And everything is ready. And before you know, between 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock every morning, you are making 200,000. Just between 6 and 7 a.m. That strategy alone can make, even if you say you don't want to do, they say, oh, restaurant business is not moving again, you shut it down. You go with this niche. You sit in your house, turn your backyard to your kitchen, prepare it and dish it out. You sit in your house, and you are distributing. Insights. Why are things the way they are? What can I do better? Why are things the way they are? What can I do better? Insight. So knowledge of things. Now, how do you generate insights? If you invest in knowledge of the reason for why things are the way they are, there are some component factors that are principles to apply or procedures to engage in order to maximize the knowledge of the reason for why things they are, aka extract insights. Number one, understand the knowledge of the history of wealth. Now, for this, especially for those who are planning big time business, the knowledge of the history of wealth and the various economic dispensations. What do I mean by that? Invest in the knowledge of the history of wealth and the various economic dispensations. Study the various industrial revolutions into the AI age. And then you begin to observe particular trends that accompany every economic dispensation. Study geostrategic economic blueprints. How wealth went to Europe, how wealth went to America, how wealth went to Russia. For instance, I know something. They say Elon Musk is one of the richest men. A lot of principles that America employs for wealth, if we employ it in Nigeria, pay attention to this. Nigerians will be richer than Americans, like Elon Musk. Look at this. In Nigeria, if you go and collect loan from bank, they wire the money to your account, you do it to do business. Even if you have stock. Stock is different from loan. If you are a businessman that engages loan. But look at what they do in the US. You buy like $10 million worth of stock with Amazon. The bank can give you 50%, which is $5 million loan to use and go and do another business based on the stock with Amazon company. So now, it's like you have $15 million, 10 million in stock and 5 million in cash. You can carry that 5 million now, go and put in real estate. And the real estate may now be worth like $20 million. You now go and meet bank again and say, give me 10 or $15 million loan based on this, and keep building. So now, a lot of money that they call wealth in many of the companies in America, their wealth is in stocks. It's not in cash. Now, the bank will monitor those stocks. If they want to crash, the bank will put a principle in place and not allow it to crash completely. And then the bank will sell the stock, and then the bank can absorb the shocker of the effects of that stock if they don't get as much profit as they want to get. In other words, they wire the economic principle, the economic development, and the wealth progression of the citizens of that country to the economy of the nation. So they can say America is the richest country in the world because its citizens are rich. But they put a system in place that makes the citizens, their wealth, to be tied to the banking systems. So that the citizen is rich, the bank is rich, the bank is helping the citizen. In Nigeria, you can't do that. You buy stock. When you go to collect loan, they don't follow that principle. So all you need to do is don't sell the stock. Keep collecting more loan, keep collecting more loan. The media will say, this guy is worth $500 million. They will calculate the whole stock and the cash together and say, this is how much you're worth. And the assets that you built, the company you built, they calculate everything and say, this guy is the richest man in the world. Meanwhile, 80% of it may be money that you are owing the bank. Do you see now? That's deception. It may not be deception to them, but why are they not allowing those same principles to work in Africa? Because they don't want Africans to bear the names of wealthiest men more than them. Those are wisdom codes that came from the colonial principle. Oh, this nation is the highest country in the world. That's why countries like Russia and India and some of these countries that are coming up now, they are afraid of them because they are building their wealth on tangible value. And that is the one that will last. The other one is wealth on falsehood. You are hyping to create an impression. It's like a balloon. One day, one punch, poof, everything will deflate. That's why they say Mystery Babylon the Great. How it has fallen. It was fallen in one day. Why? Because that kind of wealth has no foundations. Why? The people who own the central banks and own the Federal Reserve, they are not godly people. One day they can just tweak something and you will lose everything. And nothing will happen. So that wealth has no foundation because it's not founded on tangible value. This is how they have deceived the nations concerning wealth over time. However, Donald Trump is coming now and trying to see how he can upgrade the lower class to come into middle class ranks by now teaching them production and gaining economic value. He's trying to repair something at a time that the thing has been damaged for so many decades. He's trying to repair it now. But the damage has been several decades. So it may repair a little bit, but even their own prophets have said that America is going to crash. That God has shown them that Donald Trump is only slowing it down and giving the body of Christ some time. So study the history of wealth and the various economic dispensations. Number 2, study about wealthy people. Engage knowledge about wealthy people. All right? Study about wealthy people. One of the things that wealthy people do for you is that they enhance, your prospects of wealth making. As you hear people talk more about it, your momentum is fired up. Your passion for wealth creation is increased. If you study only people that pray, you will pray very well. If you study people that fast, you fast very well. If you study people that make wealth, you become wealthy. We all beholding as in the glass the glory, we are transformed into that glory. So whatever you keep seeing and feeding your consciousness with, you begin to take on the form of it. Study about wealthy people. Even people that don't know God, but engage some principles that bring wealth. I like the scripture. He said, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. I don't like Bill Gates as a person, but I've learned from him. So when it has to do with learning from people, it's not about sentiments. I don't like this person, I cannot. If that person has something that will move me forward, I'll get that good part from the person. That's how things are done. And then, knowledge about your contemporary business dispensation. Learn knowledge about your contemporary business dispensation. Our own dispensation, we need to leverage on technology for everything. Are we together? Our own business dispensation, we need to leverage on knowledge for everything. We need to leverage on knowledge, on tech and AI. You know, I like the fact that when you go to motor parks now, they send you details. Maybe you miss your bus, like flight. They tell you, okay, pay something and they reschedule you. It makes traveling so easy. Before, when you go, you and boss, those conductors, they'll be dragging your shirt. Give my money, no, give my money, next thing. They grab you and then you start punching yourselves. And then start making noise. Well, now they just check the system, see that you had booked, and they tell you their policy. As they send you the ticket, you read their policy below. Pay an additional 50% fare to reschedule your date, and you move. It becomes easy. It used to look like it was only for airplanes, but now they are making it for especially well-structured logistics systems, logistics companies. That's something. They are leveraging on technology to make it easy. Don't let technology possess you, but leverage on it. You know, our grandparents, those days, I don't hear people talking about it now again. They say, pounded yam is better than poundo. That one you pound, it carries the natural tastes. Africa, we are so used to suffering. Itum, yeah, itum. Now, as you are pounding, like the boy who is pounding is one local boy from the village. He's sweating into the pounded yam, and customers will come and take it. Yeah. Sweat plus whatever the person carries in the spirit, everything through the person will enter the person eating through pounded yam. Woo! This one retains the original taste, my friend. Go and get a yam drying and processing machine and take the same yam and do it. Now, there are flavors everywhere. I'm sure if I ask, there will be yam flavor. That original flavor you want, go and buy artificial flavor. Pour it inside there. It's very simple, and help yourself. And you just die for nothing, you know. So, our business dispensation and business environment. Number one, business environment now comes to what kind of businesses can thrive in Calabar. Calabar is progressing. Calabar is not Lagos. There are businesses that you open now in Calabar to fold up. Not because God is not there, but because it may not yet be time. Because as society develops to a certain level, I was talking to one business guy recently, and I told him, I said, look, Cross River State is going to be the next hotspot for business. And he said, why? I said, Lagos has gotten to its peak. Lagos has reached its zenith. Now, when they tell you Lagos, if you go, it's Ekpe, Ore, Ogun State. They are telling you Lagos. It's not Lagos. They are still trying to hold Lagos. Lagos has gotten to its peak. You can't do farming in Lagos. There's no place to farm. 3-bedroom flats in Lagos, 45 to 65 million in some areas. Some places, 100 and something million to purchase. But if you go to Ogun State, 20 million, 25 million. So it's not Lagos again. I said Lagos has reached its peak. The era of Southwest is folding up. It's the era of South-South. I know what I'm telling you. It's the era of South-South. And guess where they will come to? Calabar and Akwa Ibom. Why? They are very peaceful. No more Niger Delta militancy threats. So they will come here. So what are you preparing on ground, anticipating they are coming? What are you preparing on ground? Because they are coming. What are you liking or not? I'm not just, speaking from the place of this. I have the prophetic insight. Part of what we do at Misra is strategic spiritual intelligence. So I know it's coming. As a matter of fact, the Chinese have been buying up land in Biase and inside our forest and planting agro products for years now. They are taking it from here and selling to China. and some other country because there's not enough land there for them to do agro export and business. The small one they have, they are doing a lot of artificial farming now by technology so that they can have enough food because the population is so much and they have used their land for technology a lot. So they don't have so much fertile land. So they are coming to buy land in Africa to use for that, the Chinese. In Cross River State, let me not even say Africa. And so, the business environment. What kind of businesses can thrive here now? Real estate, hospitality, restaurant, logistics, fashion, media and event management. Media and event management, branding, manufacturing. Manufacturing is one business that also thrives in Cross River State, but people don't know. So you need to understand your business environment. There is a course we did in school called Nigerian Business Environment. All right, so the next point. Now, this is under investing in knowledge of the reason why things are so that you can gain insights. The next point, point number 3, is invest in the materials of wealthy people. Invest in the materials of wealthy people. The books, videos, and audios of mentors, especially spiritual ones. Point number 1, that is sub-point. The books, videos, and audios of mentors, especially spiritual mentors, imparts not just knowledge, but also grace and access to their realms of dominion. I began to listen to Cosmos Maduka Kocharis and G-Text Holdings. What's his name? G-Text Holdings. He's a real estate mogul. He builds real estate in Texas and stuff. As I kept listening to these guys, my passion for real estate increased. My capacity for seeing the future of real estate that I'm going to be involved in began to enlarge. I love automobiles, so I'm connected to Cosmos Maduka because while I may not be a car dealer, we must drive the best cars for the period that God permits us to drive. And so he's been a good car dealer, and so and then he's a spiritual man. And then, of course, other wealthy mentors. I don't just listen to Pastor Chris on the Holy Spirit. I listen to him on wealth a lot. So you begin to understand these things, your mind begins to expand. You are given access into their realms of dominion. In other words, as you focus and listen to them, the same grace that enlarges their capacity begins to enlarge your own capacity. Begins to give you righteous imaginations and makes you begin to see possibilities where there are no possibilities. It's a principle that applies to every area of our lives, but in this context, I'm talking about wealth. Now, point number 2, under this sub-point, under this third point, attend strategic seminars which cost you something. Don't only go for free seminars. Tie down your stomach and go for seminars that you pay for. When you pay for seminars and training sessions, the fact that you gave value for it, in the realm of the spirit, that you are activating the law of sowing and reaping. You don't just get the knowledge, you receive the impartation. Listen to me. Even organizations that don't know God will invite Miles Monroe to come and train them and then give him remuneration, whatever they call it, PR, to consult for them. Why? They understand that God is with this man and this man has so much grace. And they will partake of the grace that he carries. And yet they are not serving God, but that grace will speak for them because they have fulfilled the law of value for higher value. We need to be smart. Don't always, that's why I tell people, sometimes take out your money and buy a book from a bookshop. Don't always wait for free ebooks, except you look for it and you cannot get it. And sometimes somebody gives you a free ebook, somebody gives you a free ebook. You can send the person an airtime. Send the person airtime as value. It's very important to give something for value. So you activate a law in the spirit, and then your focus is enhanced more when you pay for value. That's why people pay more attention to lecturers in school where they pay school fee than pastors in church. Especially those who don't pay tithe and offering. It's true. I'm not saying that there are no people who, give attention. Yes, you can work on yourself so much that you prioritize life rightly. But you see believers come to church and go for seminars, and they are pressing phone. They are easily distracted. But when I tell them, if you fail this exam, you get carried over. What they are thinking about is not the carry over. What they are thinking about is the extra year, extra time, and the school fee. Because of that, they will sit up. But because this other one, there's no extra year, and yet this other one can carry more value than what the educational system is teaching, they will not pay attention to that one. For example, people think that there is no need to sacrifice the extra effort to come for wisdom for wealth, and yet they want to be wealthy. I'm talking about those who are not at work, are not so occupied, and can come. They don't see the need. They don't even think about it. So it's not like I thought about it and then they now say, no, there's no need for. Their minds are not even there. I went to church on Sunday. And then tomorrow, you see, everybody starts at the same level, but everybody does not advance at the same pace. Everybody starts at the same level. Two of us can be friends. We start the same day. But 5 years from now, there is no guarantee under heaven that we are going to be at the same level. It depends on what we are willing to take in and what we are willing to give off. And how fast we are given to knowledge and wisdom addiction. So, at 10, the sacrifice factor is crucial to accessing wealth insights. Okay, wealthy insights, wealthy relationships and resources. You will see that most of these global elites, for instance, GTEX Holdings, he just sent me a message today. He's my mentor in real estate from afar. Just sent a message recently that they're having a real estate meeting in Singapore. They just did a chat in Houston with Charis, and they sent me the video and said they are meeting in Singapore. If I can, I will attend. And they are saying that, now, why do they go there? When you go to Singapore, when you go to those places and you look around, now I'm not saying if you don't go there, you are disadvantaged. You can look at YouTube and watch videos, and if you know how to use your mind, you can use your mind to travel to America on YouTube. Hello? That's your level at the time. Don't go and be desperate. No. What you can use your mind. I have traveled all over the world on internet. That's the truth. So by the time I go there, I will not stand and look at anything like this. I've already seen everything on the internet. Nothing more. I'll just go for my assignment and come back. However, when you enter those environments, there is a heightened awareness. Like I always use, one of my privileged sons in the house, Victor Eze. I remember him, Engineer Victor. When we entered Lagos and we entered Ikoyi, everybody was talking. He was so quiet in the car. And I look back. He was angry. He was seeing those tall buildings and he was shocked. Then I took him to Broad Street in Lagos. And he saw those 30-something story building, 20-something story building. And I remember when we went to him, he was sick. He almost lost appetite for food. Victor was sick a whole day. And when he came back, he deleted all his previous architectural blueprints from his system. He deleted them out and said, I will not ever develop small buildings again. Today, he's supervising a project in Lagos that is about an 8-story building. That awareness did something to his mindset. He activated a wealth principle that entered into his mind. He got an insight that I've been limiting myself. I can actually do these bigger things. Today he's a supervisor. From youth service, he became supervisor. Why? Powered by the Spirit of God. But first of all, that awareness released something into him. A spirit of wealth and capacity entered into him. Are we together? So that's why sometimes they travel and have these meetings in those kinds of places. So that it's easy for you to be inspired to do big things. And then sometimes some of the people who are the resource persons for those kinds of meetings, you can't bring them to any kind of place. They have already attained a level. Subconsciously, they want to do something to your subconscious mind. As you enter that place, they are not saying anything to you, but subconsciously, they are saying, you have changed status. Your status has been elevated. That's what they are saying. They are not telling you outrightly. But when you come into that environment, oh, look at me sitting with Kostaris, a man who has been a billionaire for more than 20 years. Look at me sitting with, what's his name? I don't know how I forgot it now. Look at me sitting with all these billionaires. Now, understand this. People who grow into wealth, they embody the realm of wealth. Sitting in their atmosphere, something rubs off on you. It's a spiritual principle. The angels that move with them, as you enter that environment, it rubs off on you. That's why they open you up to inspiration. Are we together? They open you up to inspiration. That's why spend money and don't always go for only free conferences. Sometimes deprive yourself something. I remember the first time I went to Jos. I only had transport to go. I didn't have transport to come back. I had half of my transport fare back. But when I got there, I was asked by the Spirit to give everything I had, and I emptied myself. A day before the day I was to come back, somebody sent me ×2 of my transport fare. Somebody just called me and sent the money to me. And that encounter began a journey of prophetic progression. So you see, that's how these things work. Don't always look for the easy way. The easy way will keep you flying at a low level. The easy way will keep you flying at the level of pigeons, chickens, and agric fowls. That one that does not have hair on the neck. How many of us know those? Their neck is always straight, empty, no hair. I don't know. Maybe there's one story they will say they cursed it. Like they cursed tortoise, it came and fell from heaven and they back scattered. Maybe now there will be another story that agric fowl went and stole and then they removed the. What is it called? Is it agric chicken or guinea chicken? What is it? Is it guinea chicken? Guinea fowl. That one that has no hair. Maybe they will say he wanted to wear tie or something. You know. So it gives us access to strategic relationships and resources. Now, one thing I know about mentors, if you sacrifice to come to those kinds of meetings, it is easy for God to open the hearts of people who have already attained for you to connect with them at a close range. Do you understand? If somebody is invited to come to Calabar, which has, at this moment, within the context of economic expression now, Calabar has not yet attained its economic potential. I don't even think 10%. So within the context of that, if anybody is coming here now, they can relate with you and give you phone number and all, but except those who go the extra mile, who are too passionate about mentorship. When you call them, they can just put your call one side. Is this way for that city? Okay, how are you? Okay, they'll just be greeting you to just answer the question quickly to disconnect you. But if you pay the price to go to that kind of place and they say this is where you are coming from, they'll say, wow, you made this huge sacrifice to come here. They will take you very seriously. Because what mentors look out for is the value that you expended to be able to connect with them. How much did you sacrifice to come to connect with me? That's what mentors look out for. That's how mentors are. True, wealthy mentors, and who have the capacity to advance your mind. Say, how much sacrifice did you engage to come and connect with me? All right? Are we together? And then the fourth broad and the final principle. Invest in value-based assets. Now, invest in assets. In simple terms, invest in assets. Now, we have two kinds of assets broadly, but I've decided to categorize them into three. Number one, tangible assets. Number two, intangible assets. And then number three, industry and sales. This categorization is mine. It is not the professional ones that are out there textbooks. Some may be there, but I'm not following the textbooks, structure, as it were. So what are tangible assets? Number one, real buildings. People can contribute 500,000 naira or 1 million naira, 10 million naira, and go and buy a building and renovate it and turn it to an office complex and rent out and share the rent over time. It doesn't mean that one person must always own everything. Real estate and buildings. Number two, unused land. If you have unused land, it's an asset. You can either lease it out for farming, or mechanics can rent it for automobile services, especially professional mechanic organizations. You can also rent it out for people to use for event centers. You just put a tent there in the unused land. People come and be renting it out for events and all of that. And then we have farmlands and innovating farming. Things like Nawiwi, innovative farming, where there is a combination of real estate and agriculture, those kinds of stuff. And then, of course, hospitality. Hospitality. From hotel services to, what do you call it? What do we call homes? These homes where people stay, apartment lodges, homes, office rentals. You can begin to rent office spaces like these people used to do, which we've done here for some time. What do they call these people that used to be at IBB Way? Lift hub. Yes. So they rent office spaces. People can come and rent the office space for a week or rent for a month. It's well furnished. A contract, somebody can come into town or somebody can be expecting some guests, right? People register, like if you register companies with export processing, right? Register export companies and all. And you want to, part of the criteria is that you must have an office and a couple of stuff. So you can just take, somebody can just come and just go and rent some furniture from somewhere, come and package the office, meet an artist, put a brand, make arrangement with the owners of the building, and put it there. It's packaging. It's done everywhere. Just package it and then the consultants come, because if you have to wait until you build a house, or you can afford the kind of house that is their standard, you will not start business. So go and rent a small office space for like 1 month, so that in case they have to come back again, they'll still see you there. Clean it up nicely, put your brand there, engage a secretary and all that. 1 month, and they come investigate and everything. Now business can run from the house. So there are some protocols that are not very necessary again, but they just must follow procedure. So you must be smart to know how to engage the systems. That's how things work. So intangible assets. We have shares in companies, stocks and shares of companies. We have crypto and blockchain investments. We have crypto and blockchain investments. We have forex. And then we have financial services and markets. We have financial services and markets. All right? Shares of companies, crypto and blockchain investments, forex, and then financial services and markets. Then we go into industries, companies, and sales. This is where every other business comes in. Agro-processing and food production, one of my favorite. Agro-processing, food production. We have the import and export industry. And then we have water production and manufacturing industry. No matter from the beginning of this world to the end of this world, do you realize that Genesis chapter 2, Adam was put in a garden. Revelation 22, the end, what you see is a garden and a river. In Genesis 2, a garden with a river parting 4 heads. In Revelation 22, is a tree with fruits, which is a garden, and a river. So I understand something. Food and water business will always be relevant till this age elapses. So if you find yourself in any kind of food business, you can never lose relevance. You just need to know how to innovate on it to meet the times. Water, people will drink water. There is drought, climate change, and all. People are looking for water to drink. Those wealthy people who are climate change juggernauts, they are building bunkers, and then they are putting filtration tanks and reservoirs that can carry water that can preserve them for 10 years underground. You know, those people don't, because they are godless, they think that they can run away from God and go and hide underground. Meanwhile, the Bible says everything that is under the earth will give glory to God. So if you try to hide under the earth, there is already a word that has gone to catch you there. They don't understand. We have transportation, logistics, and car hire service. Now, I decided to focus on services that are functional around our region. Okay? If we want to start listing, we'll spend 2 days listing all the kinds of businesses in this world. And we have sales and marketing of goods and services, clothing lines, and every other thing. All right? Now, let's look at finally. Is it final? All right, it is. Key properties of an asset. When you are building wealth, these are the 3 key components that you must know to know if that thing is an asset, or if it is just a liability, or if it is still shaky and it cannot be guaranteed. Number 1 is ownership. Assets represent ownership that can be eventually turned into cash and cash equivalents. For instance, a rented building is not an asset. A landed property is an asset. A car can be an asset or a liability depending on maintenance and how you look at it. Because you can sell the car and get cash. However, if it is motor, you know motor. If you have motor, that one is a liability because as you are going on the road, the mechanic has to come and help you to move it from Lemna to this place. Not Lemna, Idundu, or any other place. All right? So, assets. Now, your business is an asset if you are the brain behind it. Your business is an asset if you are the brain behind it, but that's not a conclusive statement. And you can build a system around it. So even if the business is on a rented property, the building may not be an asset, but the business is your asset. Why? Because anywhere you go, the business can come out of you. So the first component of an asset is ownership. Number 2, assets have economic value. So the second point is economic value. Now, you say you have land, and there's water in that land, like a stream, and it's in the village. The only way to give that land economic value is by building a water factory around there. Or you create a borehole that now supplies water to the community and they are paying or something. Otherwise, it's not an asset. When we talk about convertible assets and structured assets, we'll understand some of these things. These are all my thoughts, my generation. Assets that can be convertible. For instance, you can take pure water factory and upgrade it. When you use fruits and stuff and put inside, it becomes a fruit industry. Use the same sealing machine for sealing bottled water and begin to seal bottles for juice. Are we together? So you convert it into a diversified form and open another business from the first assets, convertible assets. You have a car, all right? You have a car, you convert that car, for instance, a truck. People have converted trucks into their houses in Lagos and some of those cities where things are expensive. They drive the car, go to a place where there's a stream or lake, 5 o'clock in the morning, go and take their bath, change their clothes. In the morning, if they want to defecate, they enter a fast food, buy a bottle of water, and sit down there and drink to hype themselves up. After 5 minutes, they enter the restroom, help themselves, come out, enter their car, go about their business, supplying from their car trunks to clients. And they have lived like that, some people up to a year, before they could afford to get a house and others. Some people say, okay, I'll live in my car until I'm going to be able to buy stuff. And if you look at the internet right now, I have seen cars that are manufactured in China. They call them camping cars. They are also in the US. The car is adjustable. The top is somewhere here. Then there is something that looks like a roof on top. It's like it's carrying luggage. When you get to a place, now on top of the roof, there is a mattress. That thing suppresses it. When you get to a certain location, you click a button by hydraulic technology, the roof rises up and gives you room space. And then there is staircase. You climb, you may not stand, but you just crawl and lie on the bed. And then you can put on the engine and put on the AC if you want to use AC, or you can use the fan there. As it lifts up, the side is like a tent material. When it folds, it enters inside. When it stands up, a tent material comes up. It's transparent. So you can, if rain is falling and it's getting cold, it has 2 layers. The layer outside is like a thick nylon material that is transparent. The inner one is like leather. It has zip. You zip it if you don't want to look outside. I mean, you can park that car on your land and it's a house as a single person and live there. Or on somebody's land and be living there. Every night you come back there, park there, live there, come out, take your bath, enter there. Your clothes are in your bedroom upstairs. And it's a car. I've seen some other very bogus ones. This is over 2 or 3 years ago. They are very big. They are like these trucks that, carries logistic stuff. And when they come, you detach it, press buttons and all, detach it, and it has a veranda, has a parlor, has a bedroom, everything inside. When you finish, you fold everything back, and it's your truck, and you're driving and going. So people will not need to buy houses again, begin to have mobile houses. Elon Musk even built a mobile house that has wheels. You can bring it, keep it, use it. When you finish, you drive it away from there, go to another. It's complete house, not like a car. But then you fold it to a truck and tow it away from there, go and put another place, mobile house. So these are all, convertible assets. I'm not talking about dimensions of assets today, but I just had to bring that in. That car has a lot of economic value. So if you buy that car for $30,000 and you are a single person, even if you're married, but you are somebody who maybe your family is based in your house somewhere and you're traveling from place to place, you can say, I'm not going to rent a house in the city I'm going. The company compound, I'll park my car there. When I walk, leave the company, use my bathroom and everything in the office. I enter into my house in my car and sleep. They say nobody sleeps in the office. I'm not sleeping in the office. I'm sleeping in my car. Are we together? And it had to see a company policy that says don't sleep in your car, because they will not expect anybody to sleep in the car in the office. Except they now put that policy because of you, meaning something is following you. But you get the point. We need to learn how to decipher convertible assets so that we will spend less and make more money. Convertible assets. When I spend time on data on the internet, that's why I told you that I've traveled to US and China and everywhere from my laptop. I'm already there. Because I don't just burn data for nothing. My mind is working. Now the third key property of an asset is resources. An asset must be a resource that can generate future value. If it does not want to generate value today, can it generate value 10 years from now? Like land. You can just keep the land. 10 years from now, land will still be valuable. Buildings. 10 years from now, buildings will be valuable. This is where asset classes differ. Because the asset of property is different from the class of asset of automobile. 10 years from now, that automobile may become obsolete. For instance, now that we are entering the era of electric vehicles, because we are in Nigeria, we can still patronize fuel vehicles. But if you're in Europe and you patronize fuel vehicles, I was speaking to one of us in the UK, and she said there are places that if you drive your car into, they will charge you pay carbon tax. So because of that, you drive your car to a certain level a certain area where they don't tax, you park the car, rent bicycle or scooter. You know scooter. You carry it, client stand on top and carry and go to work. So you see a big man with tie and scooter helmet. You tell them where you're going, put it, drive and go there. If you're going to pick it back from work, they leave it with you. If you're not going to pick it back from work, they know how they'll go and pick their scooter and come back. You drive it, leave it there. Or I used to watch those things in movies, see where they ride bicycles and go and park somewhere and enter into places. I didn't know that it was a system. So because most of the people who control the wealth of the United Kingdom and Europe, they are the globalists who are powering the transition into electric vehicle order. They have to discourage the patronage of petroleum-made vehicles so that people can buy more of this by putting taxes and all of that. That's why I used to say that our government should put increased tax for beer parlors around Efuete, Atekong, and some places. Yes. Increase taxes so that they will now increase the bottle of Star to 1.5 in a local pub. By the time they start selling Star for 1,500 and somebody knows that that's 2 cups of rice and Maggi, the person will think, well, even if the person has to drink, the person will drink just one to just keep the taste. The person won't get drunk. We'll have responsible citizens in society. Yes. Because by the time you're selling Star $500, the person knows that with 1.5 recharge card money, you can take 3 bottles. People will still keep getting high. How much is Star now? No, people will buy, but the population will reduce. Now, those who are young and upcoming will tell themselves, I cannot carry my entire salary and go and drink alcohol. So they'll begin to sit down. At least the best they can do for those who are interested in, they'll still do their sachet thing. You understand? But now, you have discouraged some things. Those people who spend 40 million naira to set up an executive beer parlor, I don't know what that means. They will now use that money and diversify and go and invest in something more productive. Because they will see that patronage has dropped. You know, it doesn't make sense. Do you know how many marriages have been destroyed because husbands leave office 5:30 and they stay in palm wine joints and beer parlors till 9? I know a man, we lived together for almost 5 years. Every day, throughout, from office straight to palm wine. Comes back 8:39. As he's entering from the gate, he's shouting. He's calling his wife's name and his first son. Let me not call the name. He may watch this video one day. And he will shout. And they will respond from there. I'm back. And then as he's coming, he's talking about, wow, giving enchantments. And then as he comes, he will sit down and he's talking very loud. And so now he used to live in the BQ. We lived in the main building. So my room was facing his building. So when he's shouting, I'm always the one to hear because from the gate you come through the back. And so I now realize that that kind of a man has no secret. Thank God he didn't die. I mean, he's one of the few wise ones who built a house. People who drink like that hardly build houses. He was one of the few wise ones who built a house in his village. Now he has retired, he has gone home. They say his family is still in town, but they say the man is mostly at home. And so he drinks like that. So when he comes back, he'll be shouting on everybody, hey, come on, get out of this place. And so the children became closer to their mother because the man is always shouting. He's always shouting because he's always under it. Then the next morning, you see a very caring father until he goes back and comes back. Now the man is to be fair to him, he's a loving father to his family. He doesn't joke with his family. But alcohol messes him up. So you see him talking anyhow. And so as maybe he had a disappointment in the office as he's removing his shoe on the veranda. Stupid people make me think you can just get at me. Hey, you can't joke with so and so name. You can't. I'm not the kind of man you can play around with. Come and take this shoe inside. Then he will call his neighbor, Da! You there, so? Alcohol makes men. You know, something that makes men stupid. And they keep engaging it every day. Me and you, who is preaching? You get the point. So we need to come to that place where we build productive economies. I become a billionaire. I'll buy up the whole of Ateko. Buy it all. Buy up the whole of Efiete, all the joint, buy all those shops, buy all. And convert them into meaningful edifices. That kind of wealth is not because you're looking for what to eat. The kind of traffic that comes to such roundabouts, at a conjunction and Efiete, imagine that when cars park there, especially when it rains and there is traffic, you are in traffic, and as you're looking around you, the buildings around in the night, their billboards, the messages they communicate are inspiring you. You are seeing a 5-star barbing salon. You are seeing a gym. You see an electronic screen, electronic media billboard there that is communicating the good things that the government or the church is doing. Imagine those kinds of things. Rather than seeing women standing with short skirts and everybody struggling and drinking beer and pushing tables to the road that cars will not be having one lane. No, we will change the narrative. We will change. I'm telling you. You know, I used to imagine building 5-story buildings in those kind of environments. Since they permit mosques, we churches too, the last building, the last floor on top is for churches and fellowship. Then employ a studio person there. They work 12 hours. This one can't go, just be playing worship song. Then in the night, around 5 a.m., you blast full scale. What do they call it? What do they call those speakers? Line array. Full scale. North, south, east, and west. Full scale. Be blasting worship songs. But here, believers are sleeping. They build small house and stay. Muslims are building mosque and putting Waila 5:30. You are hearing everywhere. But believers who have money, they cannot think of releasing sounds of worship into the atmosphere. It's true. There is no law inhibiting also. They call it a Christian state. But nobody is thinking of setting up something that will be releasing sounds of worship. There are people who are sleeping around. They slept in a negative way. They wake up with joy, beautiful worship to help people start their day in a lively format. In a lively way. No. But Muslims are doing it in a Christian state. If you are in Zamfara, I will understand. But you are here. That's why many people that we call Christians are pagans in churches. Because if you are passionate about the kingdom and you have wealth, your mind will tell you what to do to advance the kingdom. Do you know how many spirits will be chased away? Imagine having that kind of thing, and then you give the topmost floor as prayer altars. Believers who want to come and pray, just come and pray there free of charge. So they are using their prayers to sanctify that environment. So that as those speakers are releasing sound, when things want to fly to come and block the sound, sword will cut them. And you keep it there. And so I'm doing this for the kingdom, to keep the atmosphere around here open. To keep this place as a circumference of light. Before you know, things will begin. People don't think, because people don't love God. They are looking for God for what they can get. That's why God will give us wealth. Amen? Yes, God will give us wealth. Because I am radically innovative as to how we can shut down the mouth of beasts. Radically innovative in my thinking. What can we do to expand kingdom influence? We must begin to think like that. Bishop Oyedepo said he used to think of making money to build churches. How did he start? When he was young and doing evangelism, he will go to a village where there's no church. After preaching to some believers, he will follow them, enter the bush, cut wood, come and keep, carry raffia, and create church, and then pray and lead somebody on fire, put the person in the Holy Ghost, and make the person pastor. God said, if this person does not have anything, and he's this passionate about building churches, let me give him the call to now make money and then build a lot of churches. Because if this man has the heart to build churches for me, he wants to do business and build churches. Went and read architecture so that he can build in churches. He said, if I make this man pastor and give him money, churches will full everywhere. So God said, okay, now I'm giving you a call. I've seen that you have burden for church, but the church is not the building. The church is people. God now gave him a burden that made him to see people suffering and then cast it as a vision into his heart. And then he's now building churches to alleviate people from suffering. Do you understand? Many times, God will not give you a vision because you pray. God will check, what are you passionate about doing in the kingdom? As you keep doing that, you just discover that that has become the vision. Are we together? All right. So this is where we end for today. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions? 10, 15 minutes. And